talking about my journey, just very
Yes,
briefly.
absolutely.
My name again is Hilda Moraa, CEO and founder of Pezesha. Pezesha means financial enabler. That summarizes our mission and our vision, what we are trying to do. I've been at it as far as Pezesha goes, is now almost 7 years.
Wow.
As you said, this is not my first fintech. Weza Tele was my first.
Yes, I remember
which
that.
we exited 9 years ago when I was very, very young, in my late 20s.
Okay.
And honestly, a bit naive, still trying to understand what entrepreneurship is at the time. And I was just very excited about technology and innovation. And so every decision we made back then in Weza Tele has really been very instrumental now in my Pezesha journey.
Learnings.
And learnings, exactly. So, doing the exit was a very strategic decision to join hands with a strategic partner who had worked with us for a couple of years. And we said, I think this is the right thing to do for Weza Tele and for the ecosystem. And looking back in hindsight, I think that was one of the, I will say, biggest decision I made in my first journey. Everyone relied on me to enhance the partnership, make sure that everyone was happy, and strategically it could work. And now, 7 years later, almost 10 years building
into your
exactly is really amazing to see those learnings come to life.
So before we get into the Pezesha journey, let's sort of wallow a little bit on your Weza Tele experience. What made you start that business? This strategic partner that you finally decided, they've given an offer that you can't refuse. How did that sit with you?
Yeah.
And if you had any co-founders or
Yeah.
the people who you worked with and your investors?
No, absolutely. Weza Tele was, really one of those, bringing just passionate people together. It was a serendipity story.
Uh-huh.
I met Sam and Newton, who are my co-founders in that journey.
Okay.
Sam had just come back to Kenya and was working at the NILAB building solutions. He's a techie, very, very smart CTO. And Newton, on the other hand, we had studied in Strathmore together. And we were both doing business in information technology and still passionate about programming and software engineering. And so, we met at the iHub and in an event, and we were like, hey, let's do this thing together. And
the
so
story of the iHub is
exactly
a story that will continue to be told.
Yes. So that's where we met, and we came together, and I convinced them we build this thing together at the time, which was just really coming into streamlining distribution.
Okay.
With the experiences we've had, myself in Coca-Cola, them in the technology space, and also in the retail space. They had done a lot of work.
You worked at Coke?
I worked at Coke. Yeah, and I was part of the team actually that was responsible for developing and implementing the mobility solutions.
Okay.
At the time, we really didn't know what we were doing. This was in 2008. I was still very young. And, they had just brought in actually a local company, Virtual City.
Yes.
John Weboshi. Yes, John Weboshi was, my experience with him was actually in Coke, working with him and implementing their solution, which was at the time very, very promising.
Yeah. And
forward thinking, because we really were not sure where we were going to start to empower these retailers and distributors with his solutions. And I was the team actually behind the implementation of that.
Wow.
And it was quite a big project. And by the time I was leaving Coke, we had not even finished implementing that project. And that's when I decided, I want to go and do this in a different way. In a way that starts with understanding the small businesses' problems and going deeper into those problems. And that's really what I decided to do. I left Coke and joined the iHub community
Wow.
and started building Weza Tele.
How old were you then?
Do women talk about their age?
I mean, this is tech. It's tech, but
I was
late 20s, mid 20s?
I was 24.
Wow.
Yes, I was 24.
That was bold, Hilda.
Yeah, when I left to start Weza Tele, I was 24. By the time Weza Tele was being acquired, I was 27.
So 3 years later.
3 years
that
later.
transition between working at a global Fortune 500 corporate like Coke and moving to a startup mode, how was it? I mean, what? Talk to me about that transition a bit.
Oh man, this is a part that you don't want my parents to hear.
I hear you.
Because I didn't even tell them, because I think
Wow.
if I would have told my parents I had left Coke.
They'll probably ask you, what are you smoking?
Exactly. What are you crazy? Which was really going to be a difficult, because I had a very good career in the corporate life, and I was leaving all that to come and start Weza Tele.
What area were you in at Coke? What were you doing at Coke?
I was in distribution.
Distribution,
Yes,
okay.
I was in distribution and analytics. So basically, we had all the data to crunch and look at where to advise the business. And so, yeah, so my parents never knew about it. I literally made this leap of faith. I was living with them at the time.
You were bold.
Yes, I was living with them. And, I've told this story before in a big, much more bigger forum when Obama came to Kenya.
Yes.
And I talked about my journey. And I think that's the first time they were hearing that, it was almost like 1.5 years before I told them that actually I was running a business.
What? Okay, so you didn't tell them that you were leaving Coke.
No, I didn't tell them.
But you also did not tell them for 1.5 years that you're actually running a business.
No, I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, of course, was, for me, I needed to really validate that this business was going to work before I tell them. Because I didn't want them to go through any kind of shocks, anxiety and, oh my God, what's happening with you?
So you're leaving home in the morning and coming back in the evening.
Yes.
As far as they were concerned, you're still working at Coke.
I was working. I had enough savings to at least keep me. And of course, I was staying with my parents.
Yes, of course, that always
helps.
So,
there wasn't much I needed to survive. There was food, shelter, and clothing. That's enough.
Yes.
And my transport, that's all I needed to make sure that I go to iHub, build my stuff and meet the right people, and come back home in the evening. And everything is fine at work, and I didn't show any sign of... In fact, I was more passionate that they thought, wow, you are really doing well. And I kept my support.
They were proud of
exactly. You. They were really proud of me. So did that. Started building Weza Tele at the back of 2013 with Sam and Newton. And honestly, that was the best team I would ever say I got in terms of that journey, because they complemented me. We had the right vision, passion to build this last mile distribution and do it the right way. So again, as they say, the rest is history, but